To South Korea now, Samsung's vice chairman and de facto leader Lee Jae-yong has been released from prison after serving part of his 30-month sentence for bribing former South Korean President Park Geun-hye. And for the latest on that, we are now joined by our correspondent Jack Barton in Seoul. Jack, morning from Beijing. So, what's behind Lee's parole?
Well, there's a big mass release going on today of about 810 prisoners. These big releases happen every year on Liberation Day, the date that marks the country's liberation from Japanese occupation. But it was 50-50. Many people wondering whether Lee Jae-yong, the deputy chair, and in fact really the de facto acting head of Samsung, would be amongst the released. He was. You can probably still hear some of his supporters. They're hidden from my view at the moment, back behind some trees, but certainly still making some noise. They were supporting his release, but also protesting the fact that it's just probation, it's not a full pardon, and they're still calling for the release of President Park Geun-hye inside. Former President Park Geun-hye. Of course, her case and his case were completely intertwined. It was caught up in that case that brought down the former president. Now, the Justice Ministry saying economic tough conditions during the pandemic, that was one of the considerations behind it. While he has many supporters, though, there have been many critics here saying that it shows that Samsung has too much power, that after his second sentencing, and this was the second, he already went to jail, then was released and then put back in jail on embezzlement and bribery, and has now been released again. You know, they say that's a clear sign of how much leverage that Samsung has. Having said that, polls show that the majority of South Koreans do support his release, given the need to spur the recovery during the pandemic. But yeah, it has been a little bit of controversial, and he still does have some criminal cases pending. So bribery and embezzlement, separate charges relating to that merger. The accusation is the merger was being allowed by the president so that he could fast track his way to the head of the company. That's still ongoing, so he will actually be back in court again on Thursday.
Talking about the merging and also the development of this huge company, what does Lee's release mean for Samsung's overall development as companies reviewing some of its big investment plans?
Well, if he can go through this ongoing case that is still underway and not be put back in jail again, it is likely to bring some stabilizing impact to Samsung. The company, however, has been doing very well while he's been away in prison. Having said that, executives have been coming to visit him, we're being told, and so he's been signing off on deals and working on deals actually while he's been in incarceration. It's a little bit tricky for him, though, because now he's out on probation. One, he's forbidden from leaving the country to do business deals, at least without a lot of paperwork through the Justice Ministry. And on top of that, he technically can't be employed at Samsung for another 5 years. But again, we assume that Samsung would have to be working through the Justice Ministry to try and get some exemption from that. But while the profits of Samsung have been soaring, we've seen even in the past few days, the stock price, some serious dips going on there as people worry about overcapacity now, about Samsung not being able to meet some of the big challenges as big rivals go ahead with more high-tech products, and also the future of some of those big mergers that Samsung has its eye on. But again, if Lee Jae-yong can stay out of jail now, this is likely to have a stabilizing effect, and it will certainly speed up the process. If mergers, if deals that happen, having him not in the prison that you can see behind me is certainly going to make that easier.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Jack Barton reporting from Seoul.